Next justice, again, will be Dane County Judge Susan Crawford.
This means the court will retain a liberal majority. So let's take a look at those updated numbers. Here we go. You can see Susan Crawford has a double-digit lead with more than 70% of the vote in so far. The AP called the race for her, seeing no path to victory for Waukesha County Judge Brad Schimmel.
Now, this race decided which ideological wing controls the court for the next several years.
Caroline Dade is sitting down with a politics and courts expert who has some insight on what Crawford's win means here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, Brandon, Amber, I'm here with Alex Talk, an associate professor of political science at UW-Madison and the director of the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So with Crawford's victory tonight, ideological control of the court, that's not changing. What's your initial gut reaction to that?
That's right. So we maintain the same situation we've had since Justice Protasewicz's win last year, but there's still a big change from what the court looked like before 2023.
Absolutely, and we do know there are some big, high-profile cases making their way through the court system right now that will be in front of the Supreme Court likely. One of those, a challenge to Wisconsin's 1849 abortion ban. How does Crawford's victory affect a possible ruling that we might see from the state Supreme Court?
Right. So certainly Crawford's victory makes it more likely that abortion rights supporters will be happy, that abortion opponents will be upset by the decision that comes out. Now, there are 2 abortion cases before the court. So I think it's still unclear on what grounds the court would be likely to strike it down, but I think it's certainly unlikely the law will remain a full abortion ban.
Another issue we saw come up a little bit at the beginning of this race before it really got nationalized was this case challenging Act 10, that state law that limits collective bargaining power for a lot of public workers. If that case makes it to the Supreme Court, which is expected, what can we glean from what tonight's results might mean for the justices who are going to be hearing that case, what a potential decision might be?
Right. So I think this, again, works towards opponents of Act 10's advantage. It certainly makes it much more likely it would be struck down. Act 10 has survived a number of previous legal challenges. This is one of the first that, at least at the lower court level, ruled against Act 10, and certainly raises a high probability that it will, the Supreme Court will rule the same way.
Yeah, so with this race, no secret, this was an extraordinarily expensive election, and bad news if you didn't know this, Wisconsin has another Supreme Court election every year from now until 2030. Are we all going to have to go through the same thing every single year for the next 5 years?
That's right. I think it may be a little better in elections where the balance of the court isn't in question. So the last 2 that we've just had were deciding the balance. But at least when that's on the ballot, then yes, I think we have a lot more of this to look forward to.
Yes, and so the next 2 races, 2026 and 2027, those are both for seats that a conservative justice holds right now. So the balance of the court would not be up for debate until possibly 2028 at the earliest. All right, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Talk. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.